everyone and welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you here, guys. So in today's video I want to do an in-depth review for a fragrance that I've been loving lately. This fragrance is from the house of Haramain and this one is called Amber Oud Tobacco Edition. This is the beautiful fragrance. This is how it looks, and I have been using so much this fragrance lately. So I was thinking it was time to do like an in-depth review for the fragrance, because I actually got to test in a lot of different scenarios and I actually think I got to have quite a good feel of the fragrance. Now I will not do like a full-on presentation. I will insert somewhere over here a clip with how the fragrance came, how the packaging looks and everything. But guys, let me tell you about this fragrance. Oh my god, I am loving it. Like, I'm loving it, and honestly, at the moment, I cannot get enough of this scent. Like, can you see how much I've used it? And keep in mind, I've only had this in my collection for a few months. So it's not one of those old fragrances, it's quite new in my collection. Now, as always, guys, these are the notes. But basically, right from the start, you should know that this is an inspiration. Or let's just say it will give you a similar feel to Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford, which I have tried. I don't have it in my collection, but I feel like if you love tobacco in your fragrances, this is a fragrance that you should try. Now, how does this one smell like? Well, first of all, this is all about spices, tobacco and vanilla. I know tobacco in fragrances can be quite a tricky note or a tricky accord, because a lot of people can perceive it as more masculine leaning. Personally, I love tobacco in fragrances. I feel like it adds this beautiful kick to the scent, you know. But you should know that the tobacco used here is a very wearable, beginner-friendly sort of tobacco. For instance, I also have red tobacco from Mancera. The tobacco in that one is very different. From time to time, the tobacco in that fragrance can give you, because it's combined with patchouli and everything, can give you a slight damp like tobacco. Now, this is your sweet, dry tobacco leaf. The kind of tobacco used to smoke for pipes, or the kind of tobacco you put in pipes to smoke, but it's not smoked yet. So like I said, this is all about tobacco and about spices. Now, if you know me, you know I absolutely love spices in my fragrances. Like, I adore spices. Give me all the spices in a fragrance. And this one has not all, but a lot of spices that I like. Now, spices in fragrances can go two ways. Some spices can go in a very warm heat. No, let's try that again, guys. Some spices can give you a warming up feel, while other spices can give you a cold sort of feel. This one has a lot of spices that give you a warming up feel, so this is a very warm fragrance. Also, this is a very sweet fragrance. It's warm, it's sweet, it's very spicy. It almost has this like syrupy vibe in the background, but you have the tobacco on top, so it like tones down a little bit the syrupiness, but you still have it. Now, when you first apply this fragrance, let me just say that this is not a linear fragrance, but it changes, how to say, like within the same scent family. Even though you will get some changes as you are wearing this fragrance and as this fragrance starts to develop on your skin, but it's not like you apply one fragrance and then at the end of the day you are left with a totally different fragrance. This changes, but within the same scent family. Now, in the opening, guys, this is pretty much a sweet fragrance, a warm fragrance, a very spicy fragrance. The main spice that I get to my nose is the cinnamon. The cinnamon has this like very sweet, spicy and slightly powdery touch, but not powdery in like a makeup sort of powdery touch. Not powdery in the sense of makeup powder, more powder in the sense of like powdered spices. You have a lot of powdered spices in this, you know, like freshly grounded spices. You have the cinnamon, you also get a touch of black pepper. The black pepper, you only get it in the opening part. As this fragrance starts to develop on your skin, the black pepper aspect fades away, which I do appreciate, because to me, how to say, this is such a warm and dense and enveloping and somehow cozy fragrance. That's sweet, that's with tobacco, with vanilla, with spices, but like I said, spices that give up this like warming up sensation, you know. So I feel like the black pepper aspect in the opening, it's almost like a little bit contrasting to the warmth of the fragrance, because the black pepper gives this like cold cooling effect almost. It's like sharp cooling effect. It's not too noticeable, but it's noticeable enough, you know. But please give it a few minutes, because after 5 to 6 minutes the black pepper aspect completely fades and you are left with a delicious, warm, sweet, spicy fragrance with tobacco. Oh my god, I adore this fragrance, honestly, and I'm actually thinking of buying a backup bottle, because I am running so low on this fragrance. Like, I've been using it like almost every day for the past 2 weeks maybe. Or maybe every second day, depends on my schedule. And guys, like, I'm almost like halfway gone. Like, Okay, maybe not halfway gone, but still like it's going down pretty fast, you know. So I was actually thinking of getting a backup bottle of this one just to have it, because I'm sure in a few months this will be gone, especially now that it's autumn, you know. It's a fragrance that even though you could wear it all year round, but I will touch more about the seasons a bit later, but this shines in this weather, you know. This shines the most, I feel like, in early autumn, winter even, because of this like overall rich, warm, spicy, alluring vibe. Now, to me, the main notes and accords that I can detect in this fragrance is, first of all, the sweetness of the vanilla, and it's almost like it has a or honeyed nuance as well. So it's sticky, it's very sweet, it's very dense, it's like textured almost, it's quite syrupy in a way. Then you get a tobacco. Like I've mentioned, this is not a damp tobacco, this is not a smoked tobacco. You don't get any ashy smoky nuances. So if you've been afraid of getting something like this in this fragrance, just so you know, there's no ashy, smoky, cigar-like vibes in this fragrance. This is a very wearable and very, like I've mentioned, beginner-friendly tobacco fragrance. You also get some like sticky, dry, fruity accords in the background that overall add to the overall sweetness of the fragrance. This is a very sweet fragrance. Now, in terms of spices, guys, you have a lot of spices listed. This to me is a spice bomb. You get a little bit of everything, but the spices that are the most pronounced to my nose are, first of all, the cinnamon. This is all about cinnamon. So if you love cinnamon, this fragrance will be a dream for you to have in your collection. And then the second one that I get is a ginger. Ginger, guys, in some fragrances, ginger, especially if it's paired with citruses, can have a very refreshing aspect. To me, this doesn't smell like freshly cut ginger. This doesn't have like that citrusy-esque, refreshing, energizing aspect. To me, the ginger used here, it's more of the powdery ginger that you can buy, you know, to use it as a spice. So it has more of that like sweet, gingery, powdery quality as well. Now, as for the other spices listed, you have cloves, you have star anise, you know, the black pepper. Yes, you will get them, but only like slight nuances, you know, to like spice it up a little bit, but they're not the main spices that I get to my nose. Now, honestly speaking, this fragrance is absolutely addicting. For the longest time, because of the level of spiciness that this one has, I thought people might be put off by it, and I kept saying to everyone, or like I kept mentioning in every video, don't buy this one unless you're a spice lover. But let me tell you, I got so many compliments on this fragrance, so I start to think that maybe it's a fragrance that can be loved by everyone, not just by spice lovers. But as a reference, keep in mind the spiciness is like amped up. So as the spiciness, guys, is amped up. This is not like one of those like shy spicy fragrance. No, this is like full blown in your face, all sorts of spices in the mix. And this is something that I have to say I love the most about it. I'm a spice lover. I love spices in my coffee, in my desserts, in food even, you know. I love all sorts of spices. And usually what I have noticed is that when brands list spices, especially let's say cinnamon or ginger, or it's actually kind of all spices, they're very like, how to say, like they're almost like afraid to make it too spicy, you know, which in a lot of cases results in a fragrance that's nice, it's a little bit spicy, but for a spice lover it's nothing almost, you know. Now, if you're a spice lover, this is for you. And also something else, I know that a lot of people, like I've mentioned, are afraid of the tobacco. And especially if you've tried red tobacco, or if you've blind bought red tobacco, usually it's either a love or a hate, you know. Just to let you know, these are very different fragrances. Even though you look at the accords of both of these fragrances on Fragrantica, and you might think they share some similar nuances, they don't, guys. They're two extremely different fragrances. To me, red tobacco is not a warm fragrance. It's not a warm, spicy fragrance, while on the other hand, Amber Oud Tobacco is definitely warm, is definitely spicy. It radiates warmth and sweetness. Red tobacco, guys, it's spicy but in a sharp way. This is spicy in like a dessert sort of spices, you know. These are the sort of spices that you find in pastries, in desserts like. Now, something else I've wanted to mention is that from time to time, I've seen this happening on my skin. You do get the slightest, softest smoke touch, but it's not an ashy smoke, it's not a cigar-like smoke. I know it has listed in an incense accord. Personally, I don't get much of an incensey vibe from this fragrance. It's not really a fragrance that I would recommend you to check out if you want an incensey fragrance, you know. but keep in mind, my tolerance when it comes to incensey fragrances is pretty high because I do love incense in my fragrances, you know, so keep this in mind. Now, yes guys, so what else to tell you? Honestly, I am head over heels in love with this fragrance. It's a fragrance that, let me just tell you, I liked it in the summer, but now when I can get my coat out, I spray it on my coat and it smells so beautiful. It smells so beautiful, it smells so intoxicating, it smells alluring, it smells like when you are wearing this fragrance, you cannot go unnoticed, no matter where you go. But guys, I got so many compliments on this fragrance, I was not expecting it. I got compliments from friends, I got compliments from strangers, from men, from women. I think this is a very likable fragrance, but with something, how to say, it stands out. It's a strong fragrance, it's definitely a fragrance that won't go unnoticed, but at the same time it's a very easy to enjoy fragrance if you like more sweet fragrances, more spicy fragrances with tobacco. For me personally, and for what I like in a fragrance, the magic with this fragrance is, let's just say, it starts after 5 minutes after you've applied it. It opens up, like I've said, it gets warmer, sweeter, richer. You had all these nuances that I'm talking about, you also had them in the opening, but in the opening, like I told you, you had that black pepper chord that almost like cuts through the sweetness, cuts through the warmth and everything. But once that fades away, this, oh my god guys, to me personally, I wouldn't change anything about this fragrance. The performance is great, the scent is great, the price is great, the presentation is great, the bottle is great. Oh, okay, maybe I should touch upon this now. The bottle is great, but it's not so great, so hear me out. Last week I actually went out with two friends of mine and I decided this one to be my scent of the night. And I knew that I would be going out for a longer time, so I decided to put this one in my purse to reapply it after I don't know how many hours. Basically, I put it in my purse to reapply it. Now, something happened in my purse. I don't know what happened, but basically the cap came off and the fragrance, I think like I had a lot of heavy things in my purse, like I had an external battery and I think the battery pressed the nozzle and the juice leaked out a little bit, but only a bit, like only a spray or something, and it melted all the dye around the nozzle and it started to melt actually. It started actually to melt as well, the dye around the cap. Maybe I will insert a close-up so you can see better what I'm talking about. But yeah, I was, not gonna lie, I was kind of upset when I saw it happening. And now I have to be very careful, especially if I have lighter clothes. If I am not careful and I actually press or like I touch the bottle to my skin, you actually get this like flakes of dye, flakes of like melted dye. So yes, this is, I would say, the only minus that I can find about the fragrance. Now guys, let's speak about the performance, about the versatility, genders, and also at the end I want to give you some layering ideas, so wait till the end. Now, speaking of performance, I don't know honestly what I've mentioned previously in the first few videos where I've talked about this, but now that I actually got to wear it, like properly wear it, guys, this performs. On my skin I get at maximum like 6 hours, but I always love to apply it on my clothes as well and in my hair. And don't be afraid to apply this one in your hair, because your hair will not smell like tobacco, believe me. Your hair will smell like sweet vanilla mixed with honey and spices. The scent in your hair, it will last until you wash it. The scent on your clothes will last until you wash it, especially, or if you are until you wash them, especially if you wear let's just say clothes from thicker fabrics like turtlenecks or like different styles of coats, maybe blazers or like sweaters even. The scent, it's almost like it infiltrates into the fabric and it sticks to the fabric so well. So if you apply this one on your coat, just so you know, you will have to wash your coat to actually get the scent off. I do overspray this fragrance as well, just like I overspray almost all of my fragrances. I do around 10 to 12 sprays. But with those 10 to 12 sprays in mind, I feel like the performance is amazing, honestly. Let's touch upon the gender aspect. I feel like this is a unisex fragrance. I feel like men could easily pull it off if they like sweet fragrances. But as a reference, I think if you find Hamra too sweet or like too feminine leaning, I think you will have the same issue with this one as well. I think in general, as a man, you need to appreciate sweet notes, sweet accords, you know, like vanilla, honey, sweet spices. You have the tobacco, but I feel like the tobacco is not, it's not the kind of harsh tobacco that makes this fragrance go masculine. To me, this is quite sweet and delicious, you know. Now with this in mind, if you're a woman, please test it, because I know from the feedback that I got so far from the people who bought this fragrance, some absolutely loved it, some women absolutely loved it, and they ordered even backup bottles and they adore it. Some said that for them it's still too masculine. So I don't know, maybe if you're the kind of woman who loves to wear floral fragrances or like citrusy florals, fruity fragrances, those more like stereotypically speaking feminine leaning fragrances, you might find this one maybe a bit more masculine. But what I would say is just like, F guys like feminine leaning, masculine leaning, just test it and see if you enjoy it or not. Because personally, I love to wear fragrances that some people say that they are for men, but to me, I don't know, if I enjoy a fragrance, I wear it. I don't care what gender it was marketed towards, you know. So I would advise you to do the same. If you know you love sweet fragrances, if you know you love spices, vanilla, if you know you love dried fruits, honey, and a dry tobacco leaf, check out this one. I don't think you will be disappointed. But yes, now guys, as a conclusion, this is an amazing fragrance. This is powerful, this is intoxicating, this is strong but alluring at the same time. People will ask you about this fragrance if you are wearing it. At least they asked me about the fragrance when I was wearing it, and especially, how to say, like strangers, you know, people who okay, let me actually give you an example. I was recently, like a few days ago, at a bakery. I went to buy bread and when I actually went to pay, the lady that was at the cash register, how you call it in English, she did something like this, like, and then she smiled, and then she was like, "You smell absolutely amazing." And I was like, I was not expecting it, so I was like kind of like a little bit surprised, and I was like, "Thank you so much." And then she told me again how good I smelled, and then she told me something in my native language, but it's hard to translate into English, so I will just leave it like this, you know. So yes, let's quickly go through my layering recommendations for you. Let's just say you have this fragrance in your collection. Maybe you're a man. You have this fragrance in your collection and you find it a bit too sweet. Or let's just say maybe you like it, you like the sweetness, but sometimes you would like to make it more powerful, more intimidating, more, how to say, less likable and more demanding, let's say, more demanding. Then I would advise you to layer this one with Majd Sultan by Asdaaf. I know I'm like a broken record when it comes to this fragrance, but please believe me, it's such a good fragrance to have in your collection, even for layering purposes. Like, I love to use that fragrance. I don't use it anymore on its own. I mainly use it for layering, but it's a very versatile fragrance to have in your collection for that. So yes, if you would like to layer it with something to amp up the smokiness, to amp up the resiny touch, you know, to make this one go more resiny, slightly more balsamic, slightly darker, deeper, richer, then layer these two together. Let's move on to the next layering combo that I did completely by accident. Basically, I was going to a coffee with a friend of mine, and I decided to have as my scent of the day, up until that moment, Instant Crush by Mancera. And then I took a coat, like it was kind of chilly outside, so I decided to take a coat with me. And on that coat I had sprayed Amber Oud Tobacco. Basically the fragrance was still very noticeable on the coat, so I decided to reapply on the coat Amber Oud Tobacco. I jumped into the Uber, and that guy, guys, like the whole ride he kept complimenting my fragrance, to a point, like at a certain point I thought it was too much. Like, how to say, not too much, like I thought the fragrance was too strong, and that's why he kept mentioning it. So I addressed it and he was like, no, it actually smells amazing. So yes, those two, try them if you have them. I wouldn't apply them in the same place on the skin. I would apply them on different parts of the body, or like I did, you know, Instant Crush, let's just say behind my ears and on my pulse points and a little bit on my blouse. And then I came with Amber Oud Tobacco and I applied it on my coat. And surprisingly, that layering combo smelled amazing. Now, one of the last layering combos I want to let you know about, there are two basically. So again, Amber Oud Tobacco by Haramain with Khamra by Latafa. If you have those two, again, try to layer them. This to me is autumn in a bottle in one way, the other one is autumn in a bottle in a different way, you know. Again, I wouldn't necessarily advise you to spray them in the same place on your skin. Rather spray them on different parts of the body or like on different pieces of clothing that you're wearing, you know. And the last combo that I want to tell you about, if you have Sajaya Gold, again, try to layer them. Like with all the previous ones, I don't spray them one on top of the other. I spray them on different parts of my body. But if you have Sajaya Gold, try to layer it. So yes guys, this is pretty much everything I wanted to tell you about this fragrance. If you have this fragrance in your collection, please let me know what you think about it. Honestly, at the moment I'm like very obsessed with it. It's a fragrance that I currently reach for it again and again and again. When I have to go somewhere, this comes in my purse and I reapply it. And actually tonight I think I'm going out with some friends of mine, and I think this will be my scent of the night as well. So it's a fragrance that, it's a fragrance that I like to wear when I go shopping, when I go to a restaurant, when I go to a cafe maybe. It's a fragrance that I like to wear in a lot of different scenarios, let's just say, with a lot of different outfits, and it works just as beautiful. To me, this is a powerful fragrance that's still approachable, you know. It's not one of those challenging fragrances that you have to like get your nose, like that you will have to like give your nose time to adjust to the scent and everything. No, this is pretty much a very easy reach, at least for me it's easy reach, I don't know, easy reach, effortless tobacco fragrance with spices, vanilla and honey. So yes, thank you so much for watching guys. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for all your beautiful messages on Instagram, in my comment section. I have to say, I read some of your comments and it makes my day. Like, you put the biggest smile on my face, so thank you so much. Again, please, if you've tried this fragrance, I would highly encourage you to share your feedback on the fragrance down below, no matter if it's a positive feedback or like a negative feedback. I'm sure the people who are watching the video, and maybe some of them are interested in trying out this fragrance, will find your feedback helpful, just like I always do, you know. I always love to hear your feedback on the fragrance. Even if, let's just say, we have a different experience with the scent, I still love to read about your experience, you know. So yes, as always, you can follow me on Instagram up there. If you want to tell me anything, please put it down below and I promise that I will get back to you. But yes, thank you so much for watching guys, and I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye.